welcome to another Biddle on Saturday, September 26th, 2020. How's everybody doing?
Doing really well.
Excellent, thank you.
Awesome.
I love it. I love it. We are officially open for business. So, how's everybody doing? What's going on? It's another week where we're going to talk about our app list. We're going to talk about, I think Barb wants to get in on some Pinebook action. And, Colin's going to give us his opinion on Vivaldi as well. But before we start, I would like to just get out a few quick emails here of what has been sent in to us. One is from Lisa Edwards, and the message, it's just a short message, and all it says is both Pale Moon and Firefox are rated the most used browsers among all Linux users. I don't know where that info comes from. There's no link anywhere. There's no facts anywhere. But
I'd love to see sources.
Yeah, I'd love to see a source on that. I can't see that.
Chrome are probably more, if you ask me.
Yeah, I can't see that happening, but that was the email, and there you go. There was also another one from Norman, and he asked us if we could try out sometime MX19 Fluxbox. We're not doing the distro challenge anymore, so we're not going to really do a full-blown thing on MX, but you guys are more than welcome to try it out. Has anybody tried out Fluxbox on MX?
I'm pretty sure I have, but not too deep into it. I'm pretty sure. I can make a video about it. That's cool. Fluxbox, I could just fumble my way around.
So he says he wanted to know what we thought of it, how user-friendly it is. He's interested in it, but it seems too dense to figure out. So he was trying to see if anybody had any information on it, and what our thoughts on it were. But I've never tried it.
I'm pretty sure he could go to Run with the Dolphin and scramble through his videos. I'm sure he should have a video on Fluxbox and how to use it.
Do you know how long it's been since I tried Fluxbox? Like forever. So definitely didn't try it on MX, and haven't tried Fluxbox itself for a long time. So I didn't really have any input on that. I just figured if you guys had any, you could give it to him.
I think Dolphin did put out some new videos kind of recently about Fluxbox, because that's sort of a new addition for them, I think. And I think they do a pretty good job with it from what I saw in the video. I haven't messed around with it myself. So,
all right. So we are going to continue on. I think Barb has some frustration she needs to let out here about her Pinebook or Pine phone. It's Pine phone, right, Barb?
No, it's the Pinebook Pro.
Oh, okay. All right. So go ahead.
Okay. I ordered a Pinebook Pro back whenever, and it came on July 13th. And I took it out and I followed the directions, and it said to charge it and everything, and I did. And then it turned on and it worked once. That was it. And I've been going round and round with these people since July 14th. And I get things like, well, I sent the motherboard back. It came back. Have you done this? Have you done this and this and this and this? And I've done all those things. And then the other day I get, I think it was yesterday, I got a message from their logistics team, which I guess is the next step up. Before that, it was just a support team for 2 months. And the guy goes, well, plug it in with the charger and charge it overnight. The thing is, there's no power. Even if I bypass the battery and use the jumpers, there's no power. There's a disconnect somewhere, and they're not getting it. And I've asked them to either send me an absolutely perfectly working Pinebook Pro, or I want my money back. And I think that's reasonable.
I think it's a shame that you're having so many issues with it. Pinebook always seemed to be, the guys working there always seemed to be very helpful when people were asking questions, when people had issues and stuff like that. It's just weird for that whole fiasco to happen to you and them not really. I don't know the full story of it, but
but basically, you know, that's it. I've been going, it worked once, it booted up and everything and went into Manjaro and I said, wow, it's a really nice screen. And I did my updates and then okay, reboot it. Nothing.
Yeah. Now, what was this a certain version of the Pinebook Pro that you got?
The new one, the Pinebook Pro. I don't know, whatever one that they sent out in July. I know they had a batch that they had problems with, and I'm wondering if this wasn't the end of that batch. But those people seem to have gotten replacement Pinebooks.
Well, hopefully.
And I hate to, you know, and I'm thinking to myself, I mean, I know I've dealt with this kind of attitude over the years being, and I'm not trying to get into the whole gender issue, but I almost feel like they're thinking, oh, it's some kind of dippy broad. We don't have to worry about it. She'll eventually go away. That's how I'm starting to feel. And that's not good because that doesn't happen like it used to, but that's almost the feeling.
I don't know what's behind the motives, Barb.
I don't know either. All I want is something that works because I want to play with it. I want to have fun with it and see what it can do and see if I can develop some software for it, you know, that type of thing. But I don't have one that works.
Well, I tell you what, I will see if I can find out. I'll see what I can do to try to reach out to somebody for you. And maybe, I don't know. I don't even know if I can, but we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, even what's his name who does the UB ports for it? Dalton?
Yep.
Dustin? Yeah,
Dalton.
Dalton. He was really, really helpful on the Biddle Telegram group earlier in the week. And we went through things and he said he will see what he can do, you know, contact some people. Then I get this bizarre message yesterday to plug in the charger. It might be the charger. But if it's the battery, even after I had charged it, the light doesn't even come on with or without a charger. You know, so there's definitely a power issue there. And I'm not crazy. So I'm just getting so frustrated. I had so many plans for this little laptop to play with, you know, the ARM architecture and all that kind of stuff. And now it's like, I don't even think I would get a Pine Tab, which I was actually thinking of getting.
Yep. Well, Big Pod, go ahead.
Well, when hearing this, and I actually heard this from some other people that Pine support is somewhat bad. And this just shows me that my thinking of using just major system integrators. Because one of the reasons probably support is weaker is probably because they're a small system integrator.
Mm-hmm.
Which you can even see from the fact that they do batches of product, and you cannot buy, let's say, Pine phone if it isn't during a batch, which that batch could be made 3 months from now, or even more, but when they get certain number of orders. So this shows their small system integrator, which shows they have probably weaker support, which.
I mean, maybe I'm spoiled. Even when I bought like a System 76 Gazelle, I bought it used on eBay. It was like almost mint condition. And it's last year's model. And I wanted an extra battery. They transferred, you know, I just texted them. I did whatever and ordered the battery. And they said, okay, you are now the owner of that laptop. And System 76 isn't that big a bunch of people either. And I didn't buy the machine from them. I bought it used from somebody in Canada, and yet they still were able to help me.
Yeah, they're a little bigger though. They are a little bigger.
But they have a profit. Attitude, it's just like
right. Yeah,
that's what's getting me. I mean, if maybe after the third time you're doing the stuff and you send back the motherboard and it comes back and still doesn't work, you say, okay, well, so swallow the $200 and send her another machine. And that would do more for public relations. And then I think, wow, they really do stand behind their product. And I'll get a Pine Tab whenever it becomes available. Because I'd like to get a Pine Tab. I've wanted a Linux tablet for ages, but I'm not going to do it if I'm not getting any kind of support.
So are they not testing these computers before they send them back to you?
I don't know. I don't think they are. I think they sent me back the same motherboard.
Yeah, because if it's you send it in not working, it's coming back not working. It doesn't seem like the quality control group or whatever is, if they even have one, being a
I
small
don't think they
company,
have one.
is not doing the due diligence on it. Because if they
Yeah.
are sending you back the same board, then it may be just a CMOS battery thing. It could be a
But
battery
there's no little
itself.
CMOS battery on it. There's no little that I could find.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
probably
probably.
It's
probably
about
on the,
the
one of the
board's this
housings.
big. Jason, the board's about this big. It's like 3x4. You know,
I
it's
don't know.
tiny.
Then yeah, I would be, just like you said, I would just say, listen, just send me a whole brand new unit, and listen, don't, I'm gonna hold on to this one. Send me another one, and when I get the other one and I can confirm it works, I will send this one back.
And that's exactly what I said. I've said that to them.
Yeah.
That
And-
way,
I think-
you're getting a different one.
Right,
Right.
'cause- and I had
Right.
said in my email when in my message when I sent the motherboard back with the postal service, the priority tracking number and all this kind of stuff, and I said I want a new motherboard that works.
Right.
And I'd been
That's
polite.
crazy.
Now I've lost my patience and my politeness because
Well, I
it's
would
2.5
too, after
months.
3 months of
Yeah.
almost 3 months or 2.5 months or 2 months or whatever it has been of
Yeah, 2.5 months. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd be like, listen, because most companies, yes, they're larger and things of that nature, would have been like, well, you know what, it's still under warranty. We're just gonna zip you another one, get it completely. If this one's working, still not working after we've done all this other stuff, we're just gonna zip you a new one. So I mean,
That's
I
what
would
they
think if
should
they
do.
want to save face, they're gonna have to do that.
Didn't they have disclaimers on their website though when you bought it about there could be dead pixels or there could be
Yeah,
this
but this
one or
isn't
that?
a dead pixel. This is
Well,
a dead
I
machine.
get that, and what you just described almost sounds like that thing's run by a Raspberry Pi. I hate to say that, but I mean,
It's basically-
It's not much bigger.
Not much
Basically,
bigger.
It's
Yeah,
basically Raspberry
I mean,
Pi, just
Yeah.
a different
honestly,
kind.
at this point, if you're still interested in goofing off with it, but based off of the board and the customer service stuff, I would just be like, listen, I'm sending you back the unit, just refund my money, just go from there.
I mean, this is
too
and
bad.
it is too bad because I really wanted to play with that architecture, with the with the ARM architecture and see what I could do with it. That was all.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted. I wanted to play. I wasn't getting it as it's not my main machine. Far from it. It's not like what I would use when I go to work or anything like that. I would just want to play with it.
All right. I'm sorry, Barb, but like I
Thank
said,
you.
I'll try to
Yeah.
reach out to somebody. Maybe we can get something going.
Okay, thank you. And everybody, thank you for listening to my rant and whatever.
That's what we're here for, Barb.
Because usually I don't rant too much. So
I enjoyed it.
thank you. What?
All right, Joe,
The cone
there
of
was-
shame.
there was a
The cone of
where's
shame.
the update, Jason? Where's the update?
Well, everybody, this is Bandit. This is a little kitten that I rescued. She had to have surgery, hence the cone of shame. Her lower jaw was detached, her lower lip, her skin was detached from her lower jaw.
Oh,
We think somebody that previously had her just deposited her in our neighborhood, or because we're like in a little U-shaped little neighborhood with like 30 units. And when she got injured, they didn't want to, deal with the cost of taking care of her. Because there's no way this little thing got to where she is and survived because we're right on a major highway. So it was definitely a drop off. But so she had her surgery. It was a success. She has to wear this cone of shame for hopefully just another week. They predict that she's about 8 weeks old.
She is a
and-
baby.
She was they said very, very tiny for her age, probably due to not getting, any food and stuff for a while. Because from what we know, she was outside about a week or so before she got into my neighbor's garage, and they knew to call me when it comes to cats. So, so we rescued her. I got her a nice little playpen here that's covered, so the other cats can't get to her until she's got this removed. And it's fully healed, and then she can go run around and do whatever she wants because she's going to be a spoiled little thing. But
How are the
Nice.
other cats towards her? They probably think
Um,
she's a non-life form because she's a kitten.
yeah, I do let her out because she is a kitten. She can't really be confined to a 2.5 foot by 2.5 foot space all the time. So I do let her out in the room, and the other cats come and check her out. Occasionally, they make the move to like they're gonna swat, because she'll run at them and hit them with a cone. She did that today with one of the other cats, Zoe, and my cat Zoe, and she got it right on the Zoe's head. And Zoe wasn't taking that, so she did give her a little pop on the side of the thing, but not like no claws, no malice, just
Yeah.
get away, type thing. But yeah, other than that, I mean, I'm just glad that she survived. I'm just worried about her other litter mates what happened to them,
Yeah.
So she makes cat number 6 for us.
Very nice.
But anywho,
Awesome.
I've had that many cats at one time, or even more. All of them are rescues, but I don't have that many now. I'm down to 3.
All right, Joe. Last week we talked about your issues with Mint and then Arch and everything, but there was another topic you wanted to get in on and bring up. So it's all yours, brother.
Well, I wanted to talk about if anybody had experience with the file manager Crusader. I have been playing with it a little bit, but I when I say that lightly because it's not. I don't think this is a file manager you play with. It's quite different than anything I've ever experienced. I know we had discussion a little bit, or I had sent you messaging about when I first tried Kubuntu, which obviously the Manjaro KDE platform is it's pretty much the same thing when it comes to file manager, because I use Dolphin, and the one thing about Dolphin is you could enable some root how did they describe it? It wasn't necessarily root privileges, but root options, I think, in there. But it still wasn't the same thing that we're used to, where you right click, you want to open a file as root and just go in and do your thing.
It used to be there, Joe. They removed it.
Right, correct. Yeah. And I understand that. I'm getting to learn more about those changes, but it still doesn't help you when you want to go in and do some. I'm not one to go in and do necessarily major changes, but if I have to tweak something for my Steam play, for specifically maybe for there's graphics cards like the Xorg file or that kind of thing you want to save in there to prevent screen tearing, or again, I put NeoFetch in, so I like to have it open up immediately so I go in there and I put it in the bash RC file or that kind of thing. And Crusader, if you look at it, there's actually options. And again, I fell on this by running across a video that Chris Titus did, but he described it as an extremely powerful file manager. So, and you can actually, when you open up as root, it actually opens up kind of like you would expect when you're opening up your file system, where it brings up a whole separate window. And it's even, like I have a dark theme, it'll bring it up as a white theme, so you don't mistake the two. And it's pretty fascinating on how it works. And I wanted to talk a little bit, I'm very limited on experience because I've only been on this, not even quite 2 weeks. Tomorrow will be 2 weeks I've been on this distro. But I thought I remembered others or somebody else in here mentioning that they had used it or were familiar with it. And I just thought maybe if we could have a little discussion about it, if somebody had used it and what they thought. And if you even think it's a viable option as a secondary file manager to use within KDE. And specifically because I was able to do the same thing under Kubuntu by just putting Nemo in there. And having a second file manager isn't the most convenient, but it's not horribly inconvenient either. I mean, if you think about it, Mint initially, when they came out with their 19 version, had 2 file managers in there as well. They had Nautilus and Nemo in there, which I don't understand the reasoning for that on that particular one. But this one, I do understand why you need a second one. And I just thought maybe if we could talk a little bit about that, I'd be interested to hear some other input.
All right. Anybody have any experience with Crusader?
Well, I've used it as an alternative in the past, mainly to do exactly what Brother says here. You get into a situation where you're trying to move things around within the system where you would normally need root privileges, and your typical file manager just doesn't handle that. Crusader is really great if you want to move like multiple files from one area to another, and it has all kinds of functions. The only thing I would say is to be wary, because you can mess things up really easy. It's very powerful. It's got a lot of capability. So you really want to make sure that you are doing what you really want to do, or you can mess things up.
Yeah. Yeah, there's one option I did notice in here, and this would be interesting. Again, I think this might be something maybe to play with on a separate machine that if you do mess something up, wouldn't be a big deal. But like under, I think it's under user actions or whatever. No, actually, maybe it's next one over, tools, where you can synchronize folders. Because, you know, if you don't have like a RAID setup or wonder, I'm wondering if that tool, at least that sounds to me on the surface like maybe if you have, like I have two separate drives and I mirror them, but I don't have them necessarily set up in a RAID. So what I'm doing all the time is if I'm saving a file, I'm saving it twice basically. And it'd be nice if you could sync those across both drives. So I haven't gotten that far into it, and I would like to work with it a little more. And I think if it's something that maybe, you know, how kind of like we did the distro challenges, maybe a few of us got into this and did some experimenting with it, and then maybe came back and reported on it a little bit. Because if you haven't looked at it, I think you at least should. And maybe even if you're leery to do a lot with it, just kind of tool around in there and see what there are so many features. I've never seen a file manager like this before. It's very, very fascinating and a little bit intimidating, kind of like what you were saying, Donald. So,
well, I did try it years ago, but I haven't used it in so long that I'm not even going to try to remember the differences between Dolphin and Crusader. So I don't have much input on that, brother. Anybody else?
It doesn't even open up the same though, Rocco. I know what it opened up like before. The typical file manager, you open up, you've got a little side panel with your folders, and then, you know, your files are here. This opens almost like two separate panes.
Yep.
It's quite different. Yeah.
Anybody else?
Did the Crusader used to be come as default as part of the KDE desktop at one point many years ago? Or not?
I think that was many years ago, Colin.
Right. Okay.
You might be thinking of Conqueror.
Oh, that's what it was.
Yeah,
that's what it was.
I'm thinking
Dan.
of Conqueror.
Yeah,
which tried to be everything.
Everything.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
it wasn't.
everything.
It wasn't everything.
No.
I never did like Conqueror at all. I'm sorry.
No, it tried to do too much and wasn't good at most of it. So
yeah,
just saying.
Some people swear by Conquer,
I know.
especially that the way it maps your hard drive. I think they always talk about that.
Well, I mean, I think you could pick out a good thing about anything, and I'm sure you're going to find some people that will use it, but overall, for the majority of people, it's not going to be the answer. So, all right. Anybody else want to talk about Conqueror before we move on? All right. I guess we will move on.
Right.
Thomas, what have you been up to? I'm just going to pick people out of the crowd because, you know, put them on the spot.
What have I been up to? Mostly just trying to fix bugs in Rocker OS. I keep getting reports that
Thomas, your mic's like really low. Really low. Okay. Shickle, what have you been up to, dude?
I'm assuming I'm Shickle.
You are. What's up?
I've been writing and making videos and writing.
What have you been writing about, dude?
I wrote about Gnome Os.
That's a good article.
Yeah, my first article got published on Front Page Linux, which kind of feels weird, man. But
that's awesome.
It's good. It's cool. I look forward to contributing more articles, more thought pieces. I recommend checking out Front Page Linux because there's some really knowledgeable people on there.
Dude, it's full of awesome articles, dude.
Oh yeah, it is. Especially like the recent one about Deepin. I was like, oh, I've never thought about that perspective. But yeah, it's a great place to look, especially because Jason Evangelo's starting to write more there, so we're siphoning him off from Forbes.
Right. Well, you wrote an article about Gnome OS, so talk to us about it.
Okay, so Gnome OS is typically used as like a very clean platform to just test like new GNOME stuff. So it's just a small little thing that you would spin up in a VM. You can get it on hardware, but it's mostly just to be in a VM. And it was given out to a lot of people who are either article writers or YouTube video makers to kind of see the new 3.38 release. But this kind of sparked a thought in my mind, especially referencing a couple of other GNOME blog posts that suggested that a GNOME platform, which is basically from the OS to the development kit to the app store to the user, all of that being like one umbrella. And so the way I see GNOME OS is that like they may not go this route, but what I predict it can do is give them a place to not only have like the desktop environment, but have their own app store featuring GNOME apps, their own development kit, which they already have with GTK and all of that stuff, and then also their own operating system on which to do it. Because so many people always say that like GNOME doesn't really get shipped as GNOME anywhere, right? Ubuntu changes it, Pop! OS changes it, Manjaro changes it. So what if GNOME had their own way to deliver what they design and what they see as the GNOME experience, and also bring the appeal to app developers to have a native store with a very fluent design between everything, so everything's interoperable. So that's where I see it going, especially with mobile devices coming into play as well. So
very nice.
Heck
Very
yeah.
nice. What's the video you made last, dude?
It was like a Pixelbook Go impressions video, and I've got like a proper review that I'm working on, but yeah, so new laptop, I'm super happy with it, and of course, you know me loving Google, so it's going well.
Okay, so my question to you, Shickle, is, and how many laptops do you have now? Tiny
That's a
count.
tough question for him, Barb.
I think 14 currently. 14. Okay, maybe 15 if things ship on time.
Okay, I was just curious because it always seems like you've got more laptops and
It's
more.
just so much fun to do.
I know it is. I know it is.
It's a terrible habit.
Mm-hmm. It could be worse. You could have worse habits than this. You could have worse addictions than laptops.
Right?
Yeah.
All right, Thomas, we're going to
these
swing it back to
laptops
you.
aren't going to hurt your health, Shickle.
That's right.
Exactly.
Thomas, we're going to swing back to you. You got your mic working?
I believe I do. How's this?
It's good.
Awesomeness. So this past week, the beginning of it was mostly debugging stuff. With the release of the latest version of Draugr OS, I got a lot of people coming back and reporting to me that my installer's auto partitioner is, let's just say, doesn't work.
Hey, that's great.
Yeah, because so in my testing of it, I had created a feature called Quick Install. And the purpose of Quick Install is you give the installer a JSON file, and it will set up your entire system for you using the settings stored in that JSON file. So, and once you finish that installation, you can dump that JSON file back out. And the reason I made it like that is if you go and manually put in all your settings, you can still dump that JSON file. So you can have one installation and you have your settings just dumped into a file. So if something goes wrong, you have that file on a flash drive, pull it back in on live media, boom, you're right back where you were. So new Linux users don't have to be quite as afraid of nuking their installation by accident, because new users do that from time to time. And that's part of the learning process. And when I made that feature, I set up a JSON file for myself that used manual partitioning because I knew it worked. And I wanted to test everything else. And it never crossed my pea-sized mind to test the auto partitioner. And when people started using it, it broke. So I've been working on fixing that. And I had the wonderful idea of nuking it and rewriting it from scratch.
Hey, that's great.
I mean, I'm using a different language to do it, so it should be faster. It should also be more intelligent, because the auto partitioner before, if you told it you wanted a separate home partition, then if you had told it you wanted that separate home partition to be made for you, it would put everything on the same drive. And the problem I found with that was if you have a system like mine, where you have a boot drive and a home drive, you can't really take advantage of that with the way I had it set up. So I'm trying to make it to be more intelligent, and I'm having to think about all these new scenarios that I hadn't thought of before. And adding in this intelligence is making it a much larger file, but at the same time, I think it's going to make it a much better experience once I get it working correctly. But on the bright side, I know for a fact Quick Install works correctly, and I've expanded its functionality so you could actually export things like Wi-Fi settings, wallpaper. It'll have XFCE profile support in the future, all that sort of stuff. So you can essentially, I'm planning to make an app that you can put on literally any distro, because this is the one and only app image I am ever going to make. And it will help you make this quick install file. And then if you want to try out Jogger OS, you can pull in this quick install file, and it will do its best to clone that previous installation and set it up exactly how you want it every single time reliably. So you could easily make a fleet of these machines if you were, say, an OEM, or you could very easily nuke your machine for whatever reason, because you had a bad day at work and you want to rip your boss's throat out, and you decide, you know what, instead of ripping out my boss's throat, I'm going to just rmrf/ and delete my installation and make a new one.
Does anybody do that?
That's pretty rash.
I mean, there have been days sometimes.
Okay. Okay, Dave's done.
All right.
Steven.
Thomas, I was just going to ask, do you use Calamares for your installer, or what do you use? I'm just curious.
So in the alpha tests of this latest version of Jogger OS, I tried both Ubiquiti and Calamares, and I had issues with both. Ubiquiti would not do the installation at all. It would partition the drive, and that was it. Calamares would partition the drive and get about 10% of the files on the drive and nothing more. And I talked with the Calamares devs, and we could not really figure out why I was having issues. So I ended up having to make my own system installation utility from scratch. It works okay. Oh, wow. I'm trying to make it so it's somewhat modular, so that way you can pop a module in there to configure some weird feature in your system specifically, or what have you. And I'm also trying to make it so that it's not Jogger OS specific. That way, if somebody else is trying to make another Debian-based system and they're having similar issues to me, they can very, very easily just build the deb file, because it's just a simple build script, and install that, put the installer in their repos, and they're off to the races. I'm even hoping that in the future that I can make it so that there is a core, like a common package, which is the core of the installation utility. And then there's UI packages. So there's a GTK package and a Qt package. And that way you don't have to use specifically a GTK desktop like I am. You can use KDE, you can use LXQT, it doesn't matter. You just install the common package, you install the GUI package, and you're off to the races after making one or two changes that you make for like however you want it to do hardware reporting, which is, by the way, opt-in, and like what distro you want it to say it is and stuff like that.
Dave?
That's pretty cool. Did you use when you were using Calamares, were you using like a Squish FS to install it, or?
Yeah, I was using a Squash FS.
Yeah, Squash FS, sorry.
Yeah. So I was using a Squash FS, and I had double checked that I was making the Squash FS correctly, and that Calamaris actually supported the Squashfest, and I had the file path set up correctly in Calamaris' settings. And like I said, it was extracting it about 10% of the way, and past that point, nothing.
That is very strange. Wow. Cool. At least you got your own installer project out of it.
My one question for Thomas would be, you mentioned that JSON file for new users who bork their installations. Does it also work for us old timers who consistently bork their installations on purpose?
It should, yes. I mean, as long as your JSON file works for the installation, yeah.
Well, I was just thinking, I mean, because all you talked about was the new users and not us old folks who still nuke and pave on a regular basis.
Well, you see, I kind of assumed that the more experienced users would at least know what they were doing.
You know what assuming does, Thomas?
Yeah, that's not fun.
This is true, but at least the new users or the older users, sorry, have something to play with, and can maybe find ways to break the live system if they so desire. And if you find a way to break the live system, please let me know, because that sounds like a lot of fun, and I haven't taken the time to actually try breaking the live system yet.
I just want to congratulate you because, from what I've been hearing, it's a really good and large step forward. So congratulations.
Well, thank you.
All right. So does anybody else have anything before we move on? Because I think we'll move on into the app list again. But if anybody has anything they want to talk about, here's your chance.
Can I mention something? Oh,
yes.
Sorry.
Joshua, we'll get right back to you. Vince, go ahead.
Don't worry.
So I got really excited during the week because I read an article by Jason Evangelo about partnership with Lenovo and Ubuntu. So Lenovo had already partnered with Fedora, and that was already huge news.
Mm-hmm.
But this one sort of tops that because there's more machines that are being added to that list of basically being offered with Linux out of the box. But not only just that, as part of the process, they're going to have their hardware certified to run on Linux. And that just means that whenever you buy these machines, you'll know that even if you get it with Windows, you'll probably be able to install Linux on it. And I found that very exciting. And that's going to, I think, drive up more usage of Linux.
Well, that is awesome. I was reading the article, I think it was on OMG Ubuntu about it. And the only thing I couldn't find out is, so on the listings of the website when they announced the Fedora stuff, Linux was like prominent on that page where you could either get Windows or Linux. It was like right there. And my question is that going to be the same thing with Ubuntu?
Well, I'm not sure where they're at with the process of actually getting these machines out there. And it may even depend on your geography, where exactly you are, whether that's listed prominently or not.
Yep. Well, that is definitely awesome news. That's just one more step, dude, that we need to have happen so that we can get the ball rolling on a bigger picture. We always...
Should I say it? Should I say it?
No, don't say it. Don't say it. Don't say it. But no, I mean, even leaving that statement out, that's an important step to get there and get bigger in people's minds. Not just, more people using it, but out there in front of people, seeing it. And, giving them that option that's why I mentioned about it being on the site. Like, where is it going to be on the site? Like, is that going to be prominent that you see Windows or Ubuntu or Windows? I know it is with Fedora on those certain machines, but I would love to see it be on, they really did open that up on a wide range of their computer line. So that would be awesome to see.
Huge line.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Joshua, go ahead.
So about the file manager, by the way, I was looking through Gnome's GitHub, and I found that they used to have something called Gnome Commander, which was like a 2-panel file manager, and it looked kind of cool. I think it's essentially deprecated because it uses GDK2, so good luck trying to get that working. Anyways, so just a few things I want to share. So number one, yes, you can no longer worry because I decided that it's basically just pointless to try to do a Java desktop environment or just play around with Java, especially when Java's quite jank. It's just like not worth the time to make bindings and everything for it. So I actually ended up with Ruby, and it seems ridiculous, but Ruby actually has a nice, it's built on C, it has a nice Python-ish format. There's already GTK bindings, and I thought that, you know, Ruby could use some great attention due to how really underrated it is. I looked through Symphony OS to found that they tried making their own Ruby thing called Mezzo, which basically used some Ruby WebKit stuff. Like one of them is a module called Sinatra. And it looked pretty cool. So I guess I'm just going to end up forking it and then just moving on from there. But in the meantime, I've also made another thing to try to just make Ruby development in general easier. So I made something, for example, called AutoRubyConf, which one of the main tools when developers like to build and package stuff, they use an application called AutoConf, which is part of a bunch of other stuff to help look for dependencies and ensure that they're ready to actually build a project. So I made something similar like that for Ruby. I haven't done much with it, but I made a quick program to search for any modules that are gems, which are like basically Ruby packages. So like how NPM or Node is to JavaScript, gem is to Ruby. So that is that. I published it. I would say it's actually doing a bit nice. And the other thing I've been working on that's actually, I think, the only other good thing to share about is that I noticed that Mint has, in their repositories, they have something called Mint Dev Tools. It includes some extra Cinnamon stuff, such as being able to track some Cinnamon statistics. And it also gives you, if you're on Mint, because that's the whole entire point of it, you can build packages, set up Docker containers, you can do all that there. So that's exactly what I decided to do, although I didn't. Basically what I'm going to do is I decided that I was going to fork Mint DevTools and turn it into a more Cinnamon distro-specific thing. And well, I kind of worked on that. So I forked it, I removed the Mint stuff. However, I also had to remove the building stuff. So it's only like Cinnamon for making translations and just in general, like tracking
Joshua, are you like typing a Word document while you're talking to us or what?
No, I'm just jumping around the Hypixel pit. I'm not actually playing, I'm just running around the spawn. That's what you probably hear. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
Oh, he's playing Minecraft at Bill.
So you're playing a game while you're talking to us.
I'm not playing, I'm just running around.
That's rude.
Spawn.
Yeah.
I'm not doing anything.
Rude.
I don't know why this interests you, but okay.
Uh-huh.
All right. We just heard clackety clackety clack in the background.
Yeah, we can't.
Okay, let me
can't concentrate. We can't even concentrate on what you're saying because we hear too much keyboard going on.
Oh, that's a classic me. So before I became a distraction, which I apologize, Mint DevTools forked into Cinnamon DevTools, removed a bunch of Mint stuff in the build stuff. Hopefully one day we'll make it distro specific. And then I packaged it for Debian, and it's actually really beautiful. I saw practically no lintian warnings or issues, so that was nice, and I hope to grow. So that's basically what I've been doing, but I just thought that it'd be a cool idea to share what I'm doing with Ruby and what I'm doing with Cinnamon, and that Gnome Commander exists. And you might want to look at some old photos of it. And yeah, that's it. Bye.
All right. Anybody else have anything they want to bring up? Jenda, go ahead.
I decided to try OpenSUSE Tumbleweed because you guys recommended it. I haven't tried it in years. The last time I tried it, how can I say, it was horrible. Now it is fantastic. The last time I tried it was probably 12 years ago. So, most of the Linux distros.
Everything was horrible then. Yeah.
Everything was horrible, but this one was especially horrible, Yeah, I don't have any complaints about it. There really was, it's a really nice installer. If you guys didn't try it, it's a tiny little file. It's like 115 megs or something. It's real small. And then you basically pick what you want and then it downloads and updates it for you. I didn't have any issues with it. Everything seems to work in it. The only thing that because I picked XFCE, the only thing that it didn't do that I thought was odd is it didn't have in the file manager, it didn't integrate Catfish, the file search. It didn't integrate it with it, which a lot of times, it's hit or miss of which distros do it or not. And I'm trying to remember which ones do and which ones don't. And I thought that was kind of odd not to do. But other than that, I strongly recommend everybody to try it out. I really didn't see anything wrong with it, and I hope that I'm not rattling on about nothing. Sorry, guys.
No, it's fine.
No.
I'm just wondering,
I'll say,
Dan, what is exactly he talking about, us guys, when he says us guys are trying out OpenSUSE? What does he mean by that?
I do believe he's talking about Linux user space.
Look at that.
How about that? Linux user space. Good stuff. LinuxUserspace.show, just in case you're curious.
Throwing it out there.
Yeah. You open the door. I took it.
Do it.
Well,
I'll say this about Catfish, though. Oh, go ahead, Donald.
No, I'm also trying it again because of Linux user space. And I really enjoy it. In fact, that's what I'm using on my laptop right now to do this.
Really?
Nice.
I would not recommend it for the beginner. But, you know, if you know a little bit about Linux and you like to mess around a little bit, once you get it set up, it is rock solid. I've been using it for 2 weeks now.
Nice.
Once you realize that everything's called YAST or whatever.
Yeah.
Once you get that, because I'm dyslexic and it was like really hard for like the first 20 minutes going, what is all this? And then
everything's in YAST.
Once you learn that, you're pretty much cream chased.
So I'll just make a comment about Catfish. You'll always find it in Ubuntu because Sean Davis is, I think, the lead dev on Catfish.
He is.
So,
yep.
Go ahead, Barb.
Okay. I actually was going to use OpenSUSE Tumbleweed on my non-functioning Pinebook because I thought I've used it before and I like it. It would be my alternative distribution if we no longer had Ubuntu. So I like it, and I've played with it on and off for a couple of years, and I'll keep it on a machine like at least 6 months.
Yep. Well, I'm not going to give you. I'm not going to give you my opinion about it, Barb. You have to wait. You have to wait till Linux User Space to find that out.
I'm going to save it for the show, but I will say that I've never used OpenSUSE Tumbleweed for any length of time before this, so it'll be a good perspective, I think.
And even though it's a rolling release, the way they've got it set up, that it's not totally untested. I have not had, in the times that I've used it, I never had a problem with it, like crashing on me or anything. So, but I wouldn't give it to a new user.
Anybody else want to talk about OpenSUSE? Okay. I guess we will move on to the app list then. So last week we talked about, well, just to preface it, we are creating our own app list. Just to recap, we did the 21 best apps for Ubuntu, I think it was called, for 2020, and decided to make our own app list of what we want or what we would recommend or what we would use. And we started with file browsers. We started with browsers. And last week, the numbers were Firefox with 11 people voting for that, Chrome with 4, Brave with 3. And we did talk about, I don't think we touched on Chromium much, but that's pretty much, Chrome. But we did talk about WaterFox and Pale Moon for a little bit. There wasn't a whole lot of conversation on it. But Dan, you brought up that we missed one. We might have missed a good one.
Yeah, so surprisingly, one that didn't show up on the list was Vivaldi. And it kind of shocked me that we didn't get any picks on that. I've recently been testing it a little bit, a little on my desktop, but more so on my phone. And I've got to say, I really like the mobile edition a lot better than the other offerings out there. I certainly like it better than the new Firefox, but that's just me. One thing that I really like a lot is it has a dark mode for all of your web pages. So think of like the dark mode or dark reader extension, but like on your phone. So that's pretty nice. So all my pages render in dark and I don't blind myself in the middle of the night kind of thing. So it's got some nice touches, I think, that bring a little niceties to you.
It definitely
Guess
should have
you
been on the
like
list.
Google owning the web too.
Well,
course.
I mean, I'm on an Android phone, so they already own my web experience,
with
I
you.
think.
Well, it should have been on the
That
list,
was-
and that's my fault for not putting it on the list. But yeah, it should have at least been on the list for us to discuss it. And nobody had mentioned it last week, which was a little bit surprising. But
right,
Colin.
Well, I'm surprised Ferren didn't mention it because Ferren does. He loves to use Vivaldi on his operating system, Ferren OS. So I'm surprised that he didn't say anything. Maybe he didn't chat. Don't know. But yeah, he's always been using Vivaldi. He's now put it on KDE, which is his latest desktop with all those desktop settings available. And now Vivaldi's got all those massive amount of settings on top, just to help out.
If you weren't confused enough with KDE and Vivaldi, KDE gave Vivaldi to confuse you more.
But Vivaldi seems to have this knack of remembering where you were. Once you open it, it'll open that same page. I think it may be in the settings to put that back to default.
Yep.
But yeah, so sometimes that's handy, sometimes it's not. But it's always good to remember because sometimes you close your browser and you didn't save something important that you wanted to go back to. So
you can change that. Boy, there are a lot of customization things that are built into it. And you can change that, and I did, but you don't have to. It is, a lot of options.
I used Vivaldi for a long time a while back, and then it's like everything else. You start to get comfortable with something, and then somebody starts talking about why you shouldn't use it, and then you think, oh, well, those are good points, and then you get off of it and forget about it. But the one thing, too, we started talking about last week, which I don't know if you want to elaborate on anymore or not, was the new Edge for Linux, too, because that seemed to pique some interest. So I didn't know if you wanted to continue that discussion, because I thought that's what you were talking about too, Rocco, continuing into this week.
Well, I would like to get everybody's opinion on Vivaldi before we move on.
Yep.
At least. Does anybody else use Vivaldi? Have you tried Vivaldi? Is this something that you would use or what? Leo Chavez, you got to have an opinion. Come on.
I don't use Vivaldi. I use Brave more often than Vivaldi. Have we talked about Brave yet? Did I miss that?
You missed that, dude.
No, but your head was going like this when I said Edge.
Yeah, I'm excited to hop in on the Edge stuff though.
Don't you mean
that shocks me? That shocks me
Yeah.
that so many people would be interested in trying Edge. I don't know, I don't know why that shocks me, but it just shocks me that people would be interested in that.
Especially when they don't use it on Windows.
Maybe it's because all the good Microsoft is bringing over. It's all that stuff, so why not give it a shot?
It's recoded Chrome.
It is.
Yep. So
It's no virus. I mean antivirus while you're at it.
Which means it's just as good as Chrome.
Which
But
is
it's
why
not
I'll
Chrome.
never
Well-
touch it.
But it's not Chrome.
My question is, what features is it bringing over that would make people want to use it? Because I mean, Google Chrome does just about everything you need to do within Linux. So what's the features they're bringing over? Is it anything outstanding or?
Well,
I don't think it's about the feature. I don't think it's about the features. For me personally, it's about the fact that another Microsoft application, one that is well known and fairly respected, especially by me. I love the Edge browsers, like genuinely. But I think it's more of the fact that they're supporting Linux at all, like with actual development. That is the interesting part and the positive part for the community.
Yeah, well,
I think it was less supporting Linux and more not putting the dev effort into maintaining their own browser anymore.
Well, it can be looked at both ways, I guess. But I mean, Leo, you mentioned it that, it's, well, in a way you mentioned it that the draw may not be anything in particular as a feature. It may just be that it's going to work as good as Chrome, but it's not Chrome. So if you're not if you don't want to be around Google, I don't know if Microsoft is much better, but if you don't want Google to have your info, it may be an alternative choice. I never thought about it that way.
One of the biggest features I love about Firefox is the tracking protection, is the steps that they take to make sure that at the very least, some of the big known trackers are not tracking you. Edge is going to do the same thing. And you cannot say that about Chrome or Chromium. Maybe you can about Brave or Vivaldi, but definitely not the first two.
Jinda?
Yeah, I ran Vivaldi on my Raspberry Pi. At the time, they weren't using the Chrome browser or something, and so I tried it on that. And I actually liked it. It did have a nice dark theme system in it, and it had some other features in it. But I think it was a definite must-try. I can't say that, it might be not your cup of tea, but definitely try it.
Dave, did you still want to say something, or is your hand just up there for that?
No, I use Vivaldi from time to time. It's just a matter of kind of like GNOME. It works great. It's just not what my workflow is used to. So I never really stick with it for any length of time. I always end up falling back onto Firefox. But I've never had any bad issues with it.
All right. Anybody else want to get in on Edge or Vivaldi?
Well, I've tried Vivaldi too, and I love the interface. I actually fell in love with it, but I heard it had some security issues, and so I just kind of moved away from it. I generally use either, now I just drew a blank. I'll tell you later. Okay. Have a great one.
I wanted to talk about Edge because the last time I used Edge on Windows, I had a lot of problems with it, and that must have been probably the earlier days because I haven't used Windows for a little bit now. There's been a lot of updates since then, but I found it painful to use, especially I can't remember what the problems were, but it just wasn't anywhere near the normal browser that Microsoft were using. So it must have been the very early days. Obviously, they've done a lot of tweaking since then. So that was just my experience with Edge back in the day, but maybe it's changed. And Vivaldi, I think, has a note-taking thing on the side too, if I remember, Dan?
Yeah, it does.
Don't they? Yeah, you can add notes on the side there in Vivaldi, yeah. I found that was pretty handy.
It's got a lot of things. I haven't touched on all of them yet, that's for sure. Big Pod, go right ahead.
Actually, if I am remembering correctly, during this Microsoft conference, Microsoft Ignite, they actually mentioned when the Edge will be coming to Linux. It's in the coming month of October. So can't wait for that.
Real soon?
Yeah. But it will
be there's going to be a few
testing release, so not a full release.
Yeah.
Isn't that the beta though? I thought that's what was coming at the end of September.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think you can import or export your favorites and stuff at the moment. I think it said something like that. So there'll be a few missing features, but yeah, you definitely can try it.
Cool. Leo, go right ahead.
So an issue that I think both you and I ran into, Dan, and kind of goes to the whole, I'm not real happy about the whole Chromium takeover. I think that's the biggest point out of all of this, because we're talking Vivaldi, Chromium, Brave. I mean, the list goes on. Edge is one of those two. All of these browsers that are based on Chromium, it's fine. But the fact that Chromium is dominating the market just ends up, it puts us in this situation where we're in a monoculture. And I think both Dan and I are running into this situation right now where if you are running AMD hardware, AMD video cards on Linux, every current version of a Chromium-based browser has graphical glitches in it, and they are not fixed. And it's been going on for probably coming up on a month now. And on some websites, it's unusable. Like the top half of the web page is
I experienced that.
Unusable. And when I mean, me, right? When I come out here saying stuff like, oh, we can't have a monoculture, this is why. Anybody with AMD hardware using Chromium on Linux is suffering and don't have the right experience.
So the solution is to buy NVIDIA, right?
No.
Oh, you're hurting me. Oh.
I'll let you know. I got a
Makes
little
sense to
secret.
me.
I mean,
You know
I don't
what?
see the problem here, but
Well, you know what though? Here's the thing. I think if someone with an AMD video card that's just trying Linux out right now for the first time, coming from Windows, you know what their option is going to be? Go straight back to Windows because their browser of choice is Chrome, and Chrome suffers from this as well.
Yep.
So, you know, you totally could just go straight NVIDIA, and that would fix the problem. But the fact that you got to spend $300 to fix the problem is kind of
or more.
I found a little workaround that works for me.
Oh, you have to go into flags, don't you, and go turn off like all of the coolness?
No, I didn't do any of that. I launch it in a window, and then I resize the window a couple of times. Then it just works.
Really?
It's really weird.
Oh wow.
See,
So,
mine
it would also be more
had that
cost
happen before,
effective.
too.
It would also be more cost effective to just switch to Firefox.
Well, that works too. But I wanted to see what all the hype was about, Dave.
Yeah,
I
that's
gotta
true.
check it out.
Mine is doing that in full screen in OpenSUSE. Is
Yeah,
that
in
glitching
full
you're talking
screen.
about?
Yeah, full screen. I don't know what you're gonna have to, get it down to a window size.
Yeah.
instead
Oh,
of
I
full screen.
slap it to the side of the screen, you know, so it's top to bottom, but it's only on the left hand side, and still does it. So
I fell back to Windows.
And that's
Yeah,
that I
that
think
works too.
is certainly what I think a lot of people would do if they had the escape hatch. If it was
Right.
just I could suffer in Linux, or I could just go to Windows. Might just go to Windows.
We should never put people in that position. Like, we should never give them the reason to do that. If they do that on their own choice, that's their choice, and that's okay. But we, as in Linux, should not give them that reason.
Right.
Leo, are you running all AMD, like CPU and GPU?
Yes, sir.
So you couldn't even fall back to Intel integrated or something.
Oh no, yeah, no. I have the Ryzen 1700, so
Mhm.
it doesn't have anything integrated. It's just video card. That's all I got.
And honestly, I'm surprised Shickle didn't fall back to Chrome OS. You'd think it'd be buttery smooth in there.
I've considered just replacing my main desktop with a Chrome box.
But actually,
for you.
Shickle, brace yourself. With the new lacrosse thing, you're gonna lose 1 to 2 milliseconds. That's
I'm
the
not gonna use
expected
that.
lag.
Well, it's funny that you say that about the AMD hardware, because that's the exact way that I figured out how this issue was cropping up. Because on my laptop, you know, my distro hopping machine, it's all Intel from top to bottom, and I didn't have this issue. Same browser, same version, same everything. And I go to my desktop, and I'm like wanting to pull my hair out because it's like I have to use everything in Firefox, and I'm happy with that. But I like to have different browsers for different things. So yeah, just annoying.
Yeah.
Okay, Kai, go ahead.
Yeah.
So I did want to bring something up because someone mentioned a while ago of the monoculture with Chromium, right? And that's why I'm trying to actively hunt down and promote browsers that are trying to fork Firefox and or even other WebKit-based browsers, because the amount of Chromium there is in the world, even I can say with assurance that it's annoying, it's irritating, and it's going to cause issues for the user. One that I do want to shout out is one that I actually am helping with the documentation with is Dot Browser. So,
All right.
Are there any WebKit based browsers that I could just apt install right now?
Epiphany.
Epiphany is definitely one. There's probably a billion others too. I just can't think of them at the moment.
Yeah,
Cool.
there's a Qt based one as well. I forget what the heck it's called.
Cute browser, Falcon.
Cute browser.
Falcon, yeah.
You can do Falcon.
Falcon's
both
I've
of
seen
those.
that one around. Okay, I didn't know it was WebKit. That's cool.
Yeah.
I'd like to play with WebKit on Linux. That might be my escape hatch.
All right, anybody else want to jump in on Edge, Vivaldi, or browsers in general?
I use the Qt browser, and I'll just give you a heads up. It's still in development, and there are some websites it just doesn't do well on. There's a pizza place here in Morristown that I have ordered pizza from online. You get to the pop-up where you put your payment information in, and Qt will not allow you to do it. So it's got some issues still.
Yep. A lot of the smaller browsers like that do have issues, certain issues through the web, and that's kind of why I never gravitated towards using them because they don't always allow you to do everything you need to do. So I just stick with whatever works.
Rocco, there's one other one that wasn't mentioned, which I don't know if it's a thing because I've seen it pop up, especially in the lighter distros, is Midori.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, does anybody ever really use that?
I have. It's okay. It's a little glitchy at times, but it's a decent enough browser if you just need to get the bare bones done.
I would agree with that. It too has some issues with certain browsers. It's just, or with certain websites, but it's a beautiful browser. I love its look and its feel.
I was on I have this tablet that I've been playing around with, trying different Linuxes on, and Postmarket OS was what ran the best on it. But I had like zero hardware acceleration, so I was using XFCE, and any browser but Midori just straight up did not work. No working at all. Midori actually, though, what felt as well as could be expected from that tablet. But again, entirely bare bones.
Well,
So,
Mitchell,
hey, I'd like to say something in regards to the whole Chromium on AMD thing.
do it.
I'm gonna go ahead and say that does not affect everyone because I have an AMD card, an AMD CPU, not a single problem in any Chromium. Video full screen. I play streaming games full screen.
Adam, are you on Wayland?
I've tried on both X and Wayland. I have no problems.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah,
Okay.
it affects me on both X and Wayland. So that
Wayland
doesn't
turns
matter.
it off for me. It just stops, but I don't understand why.
Yep, not a single problem.
Adam, what,
that's cool.
What card do you have specifically in the CPU?
I have an RX 5700 XT and Ryzen 9 3900X.
Okay, so in this test machine, I got a 580, I think it is. So
Yeah, do any of you have Navi cards?
I
Yeah,
do.
Both Dan and I. Yeah.
Yeah, we
Oh,
got
yeah.
5700.
Yep. I don't know.
I feel like you
It doesn't
guys are
affect me
just.
at all.
I feel like you guys are just spitting letters and numbers. I can make no sense of it.
That's fair.
Adam, what OS, what distro are you running?
Fedora.
Oh, duh.
Interesting.
Sorry, brain
Yeah.
dead.
So
and
there's
I'm
no
on
dumb
Fedora.
questions.
I'm on Fedora as well, and that's where it affects me. Fedora 32. Actually, it affects me on everything. If it's a
Yeah.
modern version of any of those things.
What brand of card do you guys have?
Sapphire. The
Mine's
Pulse.
Same with you, Dan?
No, mine's XFX.
I also
Mine
have
is
an
as well.
XFX, yeah.
yeah, mine's an XFX too. So
I don't know.
I'm not sure
Kinda
what's
weird,
going on. It is weird.
we have been bamboozled.
Yep.
Yeah, no, I mean, I dug into it pretty far. There's already a bug report. People are already talking about it on the Chromium forum, so it's a thing. You, my friend, are just lucky.
Hey, I'm all right with that.
So most of the time, like when I first launch Vivaldi, most of the time the thing that glitches out the most is the tab, like where it has the name of the tab. That almost always glitches out. And then, like
What
I said, I resize it a couple of times. It stops doing that, and then I don't get it again.
Well, for me, Dan, it's actually under the address bar in the
That's me too.
in the web
You
page
just see
itself.
like chunky squares going all
Yep.
over the place. Yeah.
Like weird stuff.
Yeah,
And did you guys turn off like hardware acceleration for
No.
like, hardware rendering on the browser itself? Not the video acceleration. But
No, that's what it's
Right.
there for.
yeah, that is what's causing it. So you
Yeah.
could do that and get around it.
Okay.
But I mean, that makes it so weird. It like it scrolls weird, man. I like the smoothness, the smooth.
I have not even tried to do that, so maybe that does work. I don't know, but
It
probably
does.
would. Yeah.
So, Leo, would you like it non-functional or smooth? Or wait, no, non-functional or not smooth?
I mean, I would just take it smooth, to be honest. Like, if I have to use it, I'm gonna use it, and it's gonna like glitch out all the way on top. But yeah, I'll just keep using it.
So
He just likes the smooth for the smooth.
an honorable mention for the browsers, Mitchell Valentino put in SeaMonkey. Not something I've used in, I don't know, 10 years.
time. Yeah.
But it's definitely there and still being maintained. So if you want to try that out too for a browser. But I don't think we need to take a vote on browsers because we did that last week.
We did.
We're just going to leave it as is. We just figured we'd talk about Vivaldi because we didn't mention it last time. So Firefox would be the number one choice, and then Chrome and Brave for 2 and 3 runner-up. But we do have to talk about add-ons. And there are a lot of people that may not use add-ons, so it may not be a discussion for everybody, because obviously in those other browsers, like the other ones we mentioned, like Midori, and they don't have add-ons, so that's not even a thing. But I know that I use a lot of add-ons, and I would like to have a discussion on one, if you use add-ons, and how many and what do you use for those. So if you guys want to start raising your hands a while, we'll get into the discussion. Hey, look at that. Thomas is first. Imagine that.
So to answer your questions in order, yes, I do use add-ons. 2, I don't know how many. Too many, probably. I know at least 5. There's Dark Reader, a couple ad blockers, and a couple things to help me with surfing the high seas, if you know what I mean. Yar har har.
So, Thomas, if there was 1 or 2 browser add-ons that you had to have, what would they be?
Number 1 would be Dark Reader. 100% all day long. I don't care what the browser is. If it supports it, it will be Dark Reader, because that one add-on makes the web such a pleasing place to use, because every time I go to Google, my eyes aren't being scorched out into puddles of ooze on the desk. If I were allowed a second, it would have to be the user agent switcher I use, because for me personally, I have a couple security cameras in my house, and I can't access them from my laptop without spoofing my user agent. I have to tell it that I am Internet Explorer. Otherwise, I just get a web page that says your browser will not may have issues with streaming video. LOL, sorry. So if I tell it I have Internet Explorer, I can do everything except for look at the video, which I don't know why they're explicitly targeting Internet Explorer when Internet Explorer is dead. Maybe target Chrome. That might be a smarter idea. Just a little bit.
Well, the other thing we got to mention here, when you guys talk about your answers to those questions, is you'll have to refresh our memory on which browser you use, either a Chromium-based browser or a Firefox browser, because some add-ons are not. Some are cross browser, where they have a version of one for Chrome and they have a version of one for Firefox, but some are not. So they're specific to the browser. So when you guys answer your things, you should probably just mention, which browser you use. Thomas, so again, I'm sorry, what was the 2 you said?
I said it would be Dark Reader, because I don't want to blind myself, and my user agent switcher. And I use Firefox, so.
Okay, put them on the list.
Very interesting. Jason, what do you use?
Well, I personally use, like Thomas, I use Dark Reader. Got to have that dark mode. And I use Google Chrome. So I have Dark Reader. I have Ad Blocker. I have the Chrome desktop extension, remote desktop extension, so that I can remote into my other computers using the Chrome browser. Also have, it was a volume control extension that lets me control individual volumes in individual tabs, so that if I have, something running in the background or whatever, I can just turn it down and go to something else or whatever. Those are the main ones I use, but if I had to pick 2, it would definitely be the Chrome remote desktop and Dark Reader. Because I use the Chrome remote desktop all the time. I mean, I've got like 9 computers in here, so that's why I don't have to turn on all the monitors and get my room up to 90 degrees. I can just use my main system and just remote in. And it can be from Linux, Mac, Windows, or any version of Linux. As long as it can run a Chrome browser, you can remote in from that computer to any of the other computers that run the Chrome browser.
Very interesting. All right. Computer Kid, what about you?
So I have a few. I've got the Dark Reader, which a little note on that. While we were thinking about it, I went to the Linux Mint website to see how Dark Reader would handle it. Doesn't work. The Linux Mint website has broken it. It's still blinding white, but now you can't read the text.
I think Linux
that's
Mint
good.
website could break anything and anybody's eyes. Just saying.
But
You're meant to experience it in one way and one way only.
in excruciating pain. But I love the Dark Reader extension. Everything's dark, no matter what. And it's open source, and it's got a list of already dark websites. So like when I go to Discord, it doesn't enable. So that's cool. And then my password manager, which is 1Password, not because I particularly like it over stuff like Bitwarden, but because we've got the family account, so I get premium for free. And then DuckDuckGo, which teamed up with Firefox, ain't nothing tracking me. And then the Plasma browser integration, which does a few. It kind of like connects your browser to your Plasma desktop. So you've got if you use KDE Connect, then you've got media controls from your phone, and then you can open tabs on your browser from your phone with KDE Connect, and you can open tabs in Firefox from KRunner and all that cool stuff.
Yep.
And then my last one is one that was actually given to me from Biddle. Somebody recommended when my CPU was dying under Firefox and Zoom that I try Tab Unloader, which if I have 20 bajillion tabs open and I need some more system, that actually helps a lot. So thanks whoever suggested that in YouTube chat or something.
So Computer Kid, top 2?
That's really hard. I'm going to say Dark Reader and Password Manager. I obviously can't live without the Password Manager, and it's a hard choice between Dark Reader, Plasma, and DuckDuckGo.
All right. Tony, what's your choice of browser and the add-ons if you use any?
I use Chrome, and I have 1, 2, 3, 4 add-ons. I use a blocker, uBlock Origin. I use Infinity, which is a new tab thing. I have something called Search Preview. I think that gives you a small thumbnail when you search for things.
It does.
And thanks to English Bob, I added in HTTPS everywhere. That was his recommendation. And if I had to choose 2, I would go with uBlock and the Infinity new tab.
All right. Dave.
I use Firefox, and I have an ungodly amount of add-ons. GNOME or Plasma integration, whichever I happen to be in. Enhancer for YouTube, uBlock Origin, YouTube High Definition, container tabs, and the add-on Facebook container, multi-account containers, the Zoom scheduler, Bitwarden password manager, Wayback Machine tab, one tab. Like Thomas, I have a user agent switcher, one called Tree Style Tabs, which is real nice because it takes all the tabs on the top and makes it like a menu on the side. Privacy Badger, Yi Translate, because going to pages that is not a language I'm used to. And thanks to you guys, I just added Dark Reader. But the 2 that I don't think I could do without would be the Bitwarden Password Manager and uBlock Origin, which gets rid of ads so that it makes the web tolerable for me.
Okay. Well, I've only got a couple, actually.
What do you got, Dan?
I have Bitwarden, obviously.
Obviously.
And I have the multi-account container tabs. Oh, I should have prefaced this with I use Firefox.
That's not available on Chrome, Dan.
Yeah, I know. So that's why I use
Aw.
Firefox just so that I can have multi-account container tabs. And the other one that I have the DuckDuckGo privacy thing. But if I had to pick
Yeah.
two, I'm going with Bitwarden and multi-account container.
Container tabs are awesome, dude.
Yep, because that's what it's all about. Eris, go right ahead. What do you use?
So I use Firefox, and I have several profiles depending on what I'm doing. So I use a lot of different extensions, not all together though. So I use Dark Reader, of course, like everybody. Adblock Plus, Decentralize, HTTPS everywhere, No Script, Privacy Posum, and uBlock Origin, depending on what the profile is. And the top two, I would have to say Dark Reader, I guess, because I just can't stand the white. And probably No Script at that point.
Gotcha.
No Script is really good.
Yeah. I don't have Dark Reader because I find most of the pages I go to have a theme that's dark, and that's good. And if you don't have one, then I'm never going to go back. Barb, go right ahead.
I use Firefox, and I have Adblock Plus, and I have, I don't know, some really weird Screenshot Plus, which I've never used, and the video download helper, which downloads all the YouTube stuff. And that's basically it. I don't have a lot on here. And the two that I could not live without would be Adblock Plus and the video download helper.
Adblock Plus and video download helper. Okay, adding them on.
Adblock Plus is a classic as well. Very nice choice.
Yep.
Leah, what do you use? Come on, give us some good.
Plus, it is a classic, but uBlock Origin, that's the one.
Yeah.
So uBlock Origin, any browser can do that, and Bitwarden, any browser can do that one too. So I'm a very equal opportunity add-on kind of guy, because I do use all the browsers, but I typically use it all in Firefox.
I'm sorry, I wasn't paying attention, Leo. what the top two?
He wasn't listening to you. Don't
No,
worry.
that was it. No, I only have two, and they are my top two. I really seriously only use uBlock Origin and Bitwarden if
there you go.
If I'm going to be doing secure logging in or whatever. But
Cool.
I don't use anything else.
Big Pod, what do you use?
I won't have a problem choosing two of the best add-ons I use because I only use one, LastPass.
Okay.
And it doesn't matter in which browser it is. Currently it's Firefox, but it really won't matter. If it's Chromium, Chrome, Edge, and anything, it's just LastPass and that's it.
Let me go back to a couple of these. Container tabs is Firefox only. No Script, I'm pretty sure is Firefox only. And Adblock Plus, Firefox only? Anybody? No? I think it's
it works
Firefox
on
only.
both.
No, I thought that was
I thought there
Chrome
was
too.
I thought there was there was an Adblock Plus, but I thought it was made by a different guy. Like it wasn't the same Adblock Plus.
Maybe.
But I'm not
I
sure.
had heard Adblock Plus. I had heard. Now I don't know how true this is, or if it was a specific maker. But the one thing I did hear about Adblock Plus was they tracked you, with your activity and hit you with ads and stuff. So that's been a while. So I don't know how true that is anymore, or who it was. But just a word of warning.
AdBlock
to
Plus
you, Barb.
has a partnership with Google, so they will help show Google type non-invasive ads. So you'll still get ads through AdBlock Plus. But I did look it up. AdBlock Plus, the free ad blocker, adblockplus.org is on the Chrome store, so should work.
There's an option in AdBlock Plus to remove all ads. Just saying.
Ooh.
Not in the Chrome one, I think. I think that was part of what allowed them to get back into the Chrome store. Because
Yeah,
Chrome
that was a
had,
big deal.
Yeah, because Chrome had originally changed their back end to prevent ad blockers. And so AdBlock Plus had a lot of issues. and they had to work with Google to finagle things just enough to get them back in the store.
Monoculture.
Yeah. Well, it looks like I looked it up. It looks like AdBlock Plus works on Safari and Opera as well. So that's
Okay.
pretty much everybody.
That's pretty much everybody. So we really only have 2 add-ons right now that only work on Firefox, like that are separate. Everything else you should be able to get on either. Joe.
Okay, let me bring it up. I it's funny. The more I try to scale down and use less extensions, you guys bring up good stuff. So I'm going to look. I just installed Dark Reader because I like dark themes for my eyes. So I'd be curious about that. And the first place I went to was eBay because I have a store there, and I noticed that you'll get some. Whoever did their logo is made for very well. So I'm wondering, it'll be interesting to see what scaling it does. But one of my more important ones, along with uBlock Origin, it's called Web of Trust, or WOT. And I've talked about this before. I think that everybody should have that. And how that works is basically, and it's grown enough to where it's a large enough user base, is the user puts in their feedback if they wind up with in a bad place or a bad site or whatever. But now it almost acts more like a malware blocker. And the nice thing is, it can also get in the way sometimes of a site that is fine. Like we have a local radio station here or whatever, and it'll pop up saying, do you really want to go there? And it might see something that's sending up a signal. If you know a site is good, it kind of almost scares you initially when it pops up, because it could be red and say, do you want to get out of here or beware or whatever. But it's warning you because it scares you almost as if you're getting a virus. But the reality of it is it protects you. And I've been using that for quite some time. And I'd recommend that very strongly for anybody. And the nice thing is when you're on there's a circle or a ring. And when you're on a good or legitimate site, that people have rated very highly, it'll be green. And if it's something that hasn't really been rated, it'll be gray. And if it's something that's questionable, it'll be yellow. And then if it's bad, it'll be out blatantly red. And usually those are bad sites. So those are my 2 top. I do use another one called Floating Player. What's nice is, like, if I want to, it's not always convenient to have a full browser window open. So if you're watching a video of somebody, whether it's a live stream or watching an afterplay or whatever, you click on Floating Player and it actually will take the panel out. You don't want to close the browser completely because then the player goes away. But if you can minimize the browser, you can have the player up in the window. You could preset it to whatever size you want to maintain the location, that kind of thing. I've been using that for quite some time too, and that's quite nice because I live on watching videos, especially watching you guys, and the stuff that you're putting out. I have one called Keepa. If you shop on Amazon, that kind of thing. What's nice about Keepa is as you scroll down on Amazon's page, you get to the bottom, it will show you a history of pricing changes on a particular product or something. And I don't know if I froze. It looks like everybody else is froze, so it's probably me. But
Joe, your top 2 again?
The top 2 would be uBlock Origin and Web of Trust. Those would be my first 2 out of everything. Yeah.
So I remember using Web of Trust, and I remember it being very popular when it first came out. But there have been some fishy things that happened with it, and I can't remember exactly but there was either fake reviews going into it, or there was something. It had something to do with basically they weren't as trustworthy as people thought they were. So
that was in the early days. I'll agree with that, because that was the other thing I was going to point out with that is you can get somebody, if you get enough people that don't like a site, they could turn around and put reviews in there and trash a site too. But I think that's far and few from what it was before. And the truth of the matter is, I just look at it as it actually has done more protecting than hurting, is what it seems like to me now. And I think it's gotten better than what it was. I think in its early days, you're correct. I do remember that happening. And I did get rid of it for a while. And then when I started following some other content reviewers, tech reviewers or whatever, they were talking about it again. And they said exactly what you said. And they said, but this has changed and that's changed. So I'm hoping that's the case. I think that it's like anything else. I mean, you look at Amazon and everybody looks at reviews, how they purchase stuff. And a lot of those, you can kind of almost tell with some of them, but you don't know what's been bought and what is an actual reviewer, unless they get into a full-blown paragraph on it. So, but I do agree with you that was a reputation they had for a while, but I think it's gotten much better.
Well, the problem with those types of security add-ons, once they get a bad reputation like that, it's hard to convince people to want to use them. And I personally, with Web of Trust, after that happened, I was like, you know what? There's plenty of other add-ons out there that are security-minded that kind of do similar things. So for me personally, I really never went back to it. So
okay, well, and I'm not going to be closed-minded. Maybe I need to look into it again. But I haven't had any issues, and I think it's done more protection with if you click on something. And even it's not that you have to necessarily be going to a bad site. You don't know this. You click on it, and all of a sudden it gives you that warning, and it makes you think. And to me, it's like, do I really want to go there? Is it that important? And I'll back out and I'll just leave. So I just look at because there were days that even when you used to get, and even with your emails, what I liked about it is if you get an email, it has protection on your emails that way too now. Because there are a lot of people get viruses and get malware through emails because they think it's coming from somebody legit or whatever. And then you see that little circle highlighted in red and you go, and then I'll message them separately and they'll say, did you send that? Oh yeah, I got hacked. So it's done more good than harm, I guess. Let's put it that way. And I kind of weathered through what you're talking about. So that was probably at least a good couple of years ago or longer. I'm thinking that was initially happening with it, but I don't know. Maybe I need to look into it again. I don't know whether ones that would be an alternative to it.
Anybody else want to jump in on the browser add-ons? Shickle, go ahead.
I'm one of those weird people who doesn't really use many of them. In fact, I almost always use none. But I've taken to Wiki Wand, which cleans up the appearance and presentation of Wikipedia pages when you open them. So that way it's got like a dark mode. It's got like you can change the font sizes, the way pictures are presented. You can even change
Wiki Wand, like Wand. A magic wand like type word? Yeah, okay.
So that's a pretty good one. And I also use the Chrome picture-in-picture add-on. It's available from Google themselves. It's basically you just click Alt-P and you have a little picture-in-picture thing no matter what desktop you're on. So it's pretty handy.
I take it that's Chrome only?
Yes. Yeah, I think Wiki Wand is available for Firefox, though, and there's an app for iOS and Android.
All right.
How's it going, you guys?
Hey, JJ, what's going on?
Nothing much. Just want to add to the AdBlock extension. There's also AdBlock, uBlock Plus Extra, which sort of is like a workaround for which apparently reports to be some sort of workaround for all the sites that break due to AdBlock. If you use AdBlock, they break. But there's an uBlock Origin Extra that can be on top of uBlock Origin that can help.
Okay.
Yeah.
Computer Kid? I'm sorry, JJ. What's your favorite add-ons, dude?
Favorite add-ons? I mean, you guys mentioned uBlock Origin and Bitwarden.
Well, I'm adding the amount of times people say that, so I need to know your top two.
Okay. uBlock Origin, Bitwarden. Has anybody mentioned Dark Reader?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And by the way, I've used Vivaldi, so some of its built-in features don't require me to have extensions, such as splitting multiple tabs in the same window and grouping tabs together.
So is it just me, or why maybe I don't know, maybe there's a setting I don't know about, but in Chromium-based browsers, is there a reason why I can't get tabs to the front and I have to install an add-on just to get tabs to the front? When you click on something, it opens it by default in the background. And I have to install an add-on to say which is tabs to front, which automatically opens it in the foreground, which is what you would want, don't you think?
That's weird.
There should be a Chromium flag that you can switch for that.
Wait. Oh, you mean like just clicking on a link? Well,
now that you're asking, I'm not sure if it's just clicking on a link. No, because if it has to be clicking on a link, because if I right click, I can open it in a new tab. So it has to be like just actually clicking on a link.
Oh, when it drops into the background.
Yes.
Yeah, no, it's like that by default, so that way you can continue what you're doing, but save links for later. So,
why would I?
like, if you're,
Why would I click on a link if I didn't want to go to it?
I do
not
that all
really.
the time. I'll open a whole bunch of links that are on a page. I'll open them in a new tab, and then I'll go through the new tab.
Well, I guess
Like,
my question
you're
is not whether or not you would want to do that, but which one should be the default? Like, yes, I can
well,
hope.
no, that's why clicking on it is the default. If you click on it, obviously, if that's what you want, it would just open.
Right.
Rocco,
But it doesn't.
What happens if you middle click it?
I don't know. I never tried. Well, I got the add-on installed now, so I don't.
In Firefox, if you click on a link that's not coded to do differently, it opens the link in the foreground, and if you middle click it, it opens it without bringing it to the foreground, which I use a lot, like scrolling through a page, click, click, click with the middle button.
Yeah.
I have a whole bunch of tabs open off to the side.
Well, this is obviously, I mean, in Firefox, it's fine. In Chromium-based browsers, it's not fine, and I have to install that add-on, so...
So the solution is use Firefox?
Probably.
Always.
I mean, on mobile, I'm now experimenting with Firefox Mobile.
That's a tough one, JJ. They're not so... Come on. Hey, did
Bring the panel to the top.
Did we plug Linux user space yet? I think we did. Okay, so we'll plug it again.
Yeah.
I think we had that conversation, Leo, about Firefox Mobile and their practices that aren't so great on Firefox Mobile.
Turn them off. You could.
I uninstalled it.
You just turn it off.
Don't even use Firefox Mobile is my suggestion, but they're partnering with people that they probably shouldn't. No, I'm going to say it. They shouldn't be partnering with.
It's less than savory.
It's terrible. It's absolutely terrible. It's might as well. You might as well be using Chrome because that's how bad it is.
Our little Firefoxes hang out with the bad crowd.
Oh yeah.
Wait. Hold on, Rocco. Something you said real quick. Hold on, just a minute. Let's rewind.
Here we go.
Well, you said the way you said it. You said you shouldn't be using Firefox if it's doing that. You should just use Chrome. So just so we admit, Chrome is just
Chrome is just as bad. There's no question about it.
But we know where it's going. Yeah.
Right.
Then we all need to use Brave.
But Firefox,
Let's all go back.
Firefox is the open source platform that everybody was supposed to get away from this stuff, and they're going in that direction.
Yes.
And I will tell you that even on I use Firefox for the containers for certain type of specific uses is why I go to them.
Yep.
But then I noticed that if you go to, especially if I do a reinstall and I'm bringing it over and I go to do my initial sync backup, it wants to push me. Oh, you didn't do this yet. And it wants to push me to that mobile app all the time. And I'm really kind of getting sick of it.
I don't like the mobile.
Point taken on those for sure.
Steven, go ahead.
In terms of browser add-ons, I really only use the Dark Reader add-on for Firefox. Besides that, just not too much else. Just get my vote on the record.
Yep. Anybody else want to get their vote in on Vince? Come on, you didn't vote yet, dude. Come on. Do you use add-ons or what? I'm gonna call you out.
Sorry, I was paying attention to something else. Well, I do use a couple, but in Firefox, probably the main one is the container tabs. I think that's one of the main reasons I would use Firefox. And the ad blockers, because of the tracking thing that you guys mentioned, I became a bit suspicious of them. I was using uBlock Origin. I think that one's still pretty good as an ad blocker. But I think if I was going to vote for two, I would say the container tabs. And I'm surprised no one's mentioned Privacy Badger, actually.
It's on the list, Vince. Like we added, there was community members that added to this list of browser add-ons, and it's on there. It's just not been mentioned tonight.
I can see it on the list, but I'm gonna throw in a vote for Privacy Badger because I like where it comes from. It comes from the EFF, which is, I can't remember what it stands for, the Electronic Frontier.
Freedom Foundation.
Yeah, that's it. That's what it is. It's not exactly an ad blocker. It blocks tracking. So it blocks tracking scripts and other things. So I think that's a useful addition to having an ad blocker too.
Yeah, those are good.
Although, isn't Privacy Badger a little bit aggressive compared to uBlock or AdBlock?
I have had the occasional site that I think it it doesn't work with. So, but it's easy to turn it off for that site. So,
yep.
And it's also less aggressive than the new versions of Firefox are, because Firefox itself has gotten really strict about fingerprinters and other tracking devices.
I do appreciate it though.
No, Dave, is that in like if I just open Firefox now? I mean, it would block those? Really?
Do you see a shield that's purple?
Yeah, like version 80 and up.
I'm not
I don't think you have to turn it on. I think it's there.
No, it's there by default.
Yep.
Because in the address bar on the far left side of it, there's a little shield. And actually, the first time yesterday, that shield suddenly popped up and said, "We just blocked a fingerprinter on this site."
Yep.
So the fingerprinting blocking in the newer versions of Firefox is there by default.
It's there by default, but you can turn it up if you want in the settings.
Right.
It starts on standard, and then you can go up to strict, and then if that's not enough, you can go up to custom and just be like, flat out, it's all gone, bye.
Yeah, if you go up to script, it's like running websites with no script again, where it's like, yeah, I want that thing and that thing and that thing and that thing.
Well, no script was great, dude. I used to use no script constantly. It was the whole, certain websites wouldn't work, and then you'd have to go find what was blocking it, and sometimes it became pretty difficult where it was so much easier to just turn off no script and let the website through and then turn it back on. And then that's one step away from just turning it off altogether. So it's
and every website now is just HTML that invokes JavaScript, and everything is JavaScript. So you can't get away with no script anymore.
Right.
Does anybody here use HTTPS everywhere?
That's on the list. Yep.
Tony does.
Mentioned.
I mentioned it.
Yep.
Yeah. Also, I remember there was a setting in a browser in a few browsers that you can force that without the extension, but I can't remember where that setting is. So.
All right, Colin, you got your hand up. Go right ahead.
Well, I only put my hand up because Rocco's calling Vince out, so I thought it was just a matter of
you were
time
gonna
before
get
he got
called out.
to
You
me.
were next, yes. Whether you liked it or not.
So I just thought I would put my 2 cents worth in, and I don't use any extensions at all.
Really?
Nice.
No.
Well,
I don't.
No password manager, no nothing.
No password manager, nothing. I've never considered add-ons.
Let me guess, he runs generic GNOME as well.
No, I don't. No, I've got extensions on GNOME. So there are extensions added on, but only because they're needed. Because when you install an extension in GNOME, obviously you need the GNOME extension within the browser. But that's not something I choose to install. That's something I need if I want an extension on GNOME. But no, I don't use extensions. But I do have a good question when it comes to ad blockers, because my attitude towards ad blockers are there are a lot of people on the web that have ads that help their website out to get money to maintain the website. So are some of these ad blockers good enough to use where that doesn't affect those people, because they do need help in maintaining a web page or whatever it is they do. So my question is, do these ad blockers go against these people when it comes to making a bit of revenue that they probably need to maintain?
It
That's
would,
my
Colin, but
question.
you could whitelist them, like on Black Origin. Sorry to jump in, but there's all you have to do is when you go on a particular site, there's like a radio, like an on-off button. You click on that, and you could whitelist that particular, whether it's YouTube channel or whatever, so it doesn't interfere. So you could actually pick and choose what sites you wanted to do it on.
Yeah, but I think the bigger question is, does it hurt them? And the answer is yes. In most terms, it does take away from some of their revenue. And there's always that question of, is it my choice to view the website without ads? It's their website, but I don't want to go there and see 50,000 ads either.
Or abrasive ads or intrusive ads.
So it's like, I don't know the answer to that, but it definitely is a subject that we could get into, because you are, like, for example, a lot of these sites, the tech sites especially, run on ads. And if you're blocking everything, they're not going to get the revenue that they normally would. And it's especially bad with tech sites because a lot of the tech people are using add-ons that would block those ads. So it's like,
But this is why Brave exists.
yes, exactly. That is
but
the
you will
alternative.
you will also find that a lot of those websites will, when you first get to them, put up a little pop-up. We notice that you're using an ad blocker. We use ads to help maintain our system. Would you consider turning it off while you're here, or consider making a donation directly?
Also, there's the Google program that's supposed to be like Google Contributor or something that gives a few cents to a site that you visit in exchange for not displaying ads or intrusive ads.
But the hard thing is, if you get to a YouTube channel, the problem is some of the ads coming up were either totally not related, and some of them were even over the top with things, and that's where the problem comes in when it comes to YouTube. And you got a content, whether it's a tech channel or whatever, or Big Daddy Linux for that matter, or whatever. If you're not controlling, you can't really control those ads. So that's why a lot of these YouTubers now have gone to their own sponsored ads where they talk about it before they start their channel, because they know people are using these blockers to prevent some of these unnecessary or unwanted type ads.
And Joe, there's also mid-roll ads as well that happen in the middle of a YouTube video. Also, YouTube has their premium service for those who want to not have ads at all, and also want to have
That's
ad-free
JJ.
music streaming as well.
That's exactly why I've subscribed to YouTube Red, just so that that people can actually get paid for the ads that they put on there, but I don't have to see them. That's like a perfect solution.
Same here.
All right.
Well, it's
YouTube
sorry.
Premium now.
Go ahead, Colin.
Go ahead, Colin.
I see the web a little bit the same as using Linux. In my mind, is that sometimes it does cost you time. So learning Linux costs you time, or you can donate to some of these other subscriptions that people have, but also surfing the web is sort of like it costs you time as well, I suppose. The most annoying ads that I don't like are the ones that are playing some sort of video, or it's a video, and you cannot find it.
No, you can't find it, dude. It's somewhere on the web page.
It's somewhere on the web page. Eventually, you will find it, but that becomes the most distracting thing. They're the only ones I don't like.
CNET web
Everything else.
pages.
Yeah.
So
Maybe that's why people spend all their time on Facebook, because it doesn't have ads.
Yeah.
No.
Oh wait, no,
Has nothing
that's
to do
not
with that.
right.
No.
No, so the thing I do like is at least those video ads and stuff, they don't play automatically anymore, which is kind of nice. That's better than it once was.
They do. They still do for me.
You have in your browser.
You can turn it off.
You can turn it off.
Right.
I know with Firefox, you go in and you just turn it off, and you don't have to worry about it.
Then they won't play automatically. They still load up and they're there, but they don't play automatically.
And they may run like the first 2 seconds of it over and over again, but with no sound.
Right.
Some of them will do that.
Which is a lot better than it once was. That's for sure.
That was, and you couldn't find it. That was the problem.
Yeah.
It was, some teeny little, and
Anyway, Jinda, go right ahead.
Okay, so I run Firefox, and then I run pretty much all the same ones that everybody else said. Dark Reader, I use an Agent Switcher. I don't remember which one. There's a bunch on the market. And I run AdBlock Plus. To pick two of those, I probably would lean towards Dark Reader and AdBlock Plus.
Dark Reader is pretty popular.
Wasn't AdBlock Plus recently like in a story that they referenced that they're actually only switching out bad ads for good ads versus removing ads completely?
So they're pulling the Brave.
Yeah, no, I think they
different.
Yeah, I think they still block. I haven't used it in a while, so I don't know.
All right. Who didn't we get to? Donald, did we get to you?
Nope.
All right. So you use add-ons?
Nope.
Okay.
I used them years ago in Firefox. And at one point, Firefox decided In their wisdom, the add-ons were insecure and they wiped them all out. And that included the add-on for the password manager I was using. For 6 months, it never came back. And I went and used another browser for a long time after that, and I never went back to using add-ons. And again, although this Dark Reader is something I might check out. Sounds interesting.
Dark Reader is very nice.
It is.
Jason, did we get to you? Okay. Anybody else that we didn't get? Big Pod, did we get to you?
Yeah, I was the one.
Oh, yeah, you were the one. Okay. All right. So, Computer Kid, did you have something else?
Yeah, just to comment. I've heard people talk about the container tabs, and I know they're supposed to like keep Facebook from reaching out, but do they have any like when you turn it on, are you immediately like, oh, this thing is better? Or is it more of like a
No.
I know they can't see me here?
It takes a bit of work to get it to where you want. Actually, I watched a couple of YouTube videos. I think Michael might actually have one that was really pretty good. Yeah.
The biggest thing it does for me, the Facebook container, is that without it, Facebook can actually see what you're doing in the other tabs you have open.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And that, I think isn't Facebook's on by default, Dave? Now in Firefox, we open up. That's the one that's automatically loaded in a container.
Might be. You can force.
I don't
any
know.
website.
I always add it.
Yeah, I do too. Because you can force any, domain or website or whatever into its own container tab, no matter if you clicked on it or loaded it up. You don't have to specify the container tab anymore.
Well, look in the settings though, Dan. Too. I'm pretty sure it's in default. It's actually enabled or checked in the settings of Firefox as using that container right out of the gate, unless you disable it, is what I believe.
To be honest, I'm not sure because I go on Facebook maybe once every 6 months.
I was just going to say, I don't think I've loaded up Facebook in about 8 months, so I have no idea.
Yeah, but I'm talking about the actual back-end settings of Firefox. If you go in when you look to set up your settings, that'll be one of the things in the list on the generals tab or something like that.
But then
privacy.
Once you put whatever website in a container, does things noticeably improve, or is it just does it just make you feel safer, or is it actually like a noticeable improvement?
So the way I used it, Computer Kid, when I was running Firefox was I would have a separate container for each Google account that I have, because I have 2-3 different accounts. So I could be signed into one, I could be signed into the Big Daddy Linux channel and then go and sign into another complete Google account. So it doesn't even recognize. So if I sign into the Big Daddy Linux channel with a container tab and I open another one, it doesn't even recognize that I'm signed in. So I have to sign in again, and that allows me to do another account and another account. So that to me was the greatest thing about it, was that, like, for example, in Chromium-based browsers, all you have is like the profile switcher. So you have to completely switch the profile and everything else. Where in Firefox, in container tabs, you could keep the same profile and just do it in a tab, which was awesome.
So you used it for something entirely different than Facebook.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I know that Facebook is a part of that, but I don't think that's what the original intent was. I don't remember it coming out as just a Facebook
before
thing.
that. Yeah.
It is now. Yeah, now they have it. It's defaults to be. It's enabled for Facebook. So you.
Right, but it wasn't like when it came out. They didn't say, here's a Facebook container thing. It was just container tabs where you could just separate your accounts in that way, and I thought it was awesome. Best thing about Firefox and the add-on system.
Okay, cool. I've just never seen, like, I don't use Facebook, and I've never really seen the value of it. I've never seen any like practical usage. Rocco, yours sounds very practical, but before now, never really heard a good one.
Well, I don't have a Facebook account, so it's not practical for me in that area.
Well, yeah. Your other use of it.
Yeah.
Kids are no longer in Facebook. It's not cool anymore.
It's not cool anymore. Come on, people.
about
After
that
the
TikTok?
20,000 vulnerabilities they had, yeah, no one wants to use it anymore.
Facebook is a vulnerability.
No, people
Well,
use it. People
I'm-
use it, just not the kids.
The boomers.
I'm still on
Yeah.
People with
MySpace.
Oculus still have to use it.
MySpace.
Okay, so to round up this browser add-on list, we the ones that were put on this list that not too many really mentioned were Grammarly, which is primo, pretty awesome add-on. Cookie auto delete, simple tab groups, and I think we did mention DuckDuckGo, but I didn't put it on that list because maybe you guys.
Yeah, DuckDuckGo.
Yeah, people mentioned it, but nobody made it their top 2.
Right, and that's what we were actually putting in this list was the top 2.
Yep.
And KDE Connect was the other one that didn't get put in that list, which is surprising for as amount of people that I know use it, but either way. So from what it looks like, obviously Dark Reader is the most popular with 7 votes. There's
Oh, sorry. It's not actually called KDE Connect, but it like connects with KDE Connect, so it's actually called Plasma Browser Integration.
Yep.
Yeah, I put the wrong name in. Sorry.
KDE
Plasma
Connect
Browser
connector.
Integration.
Yeah.
KDE connector for the browser connector.
Okay, so Dark Reader is the most popular one, and then comes second in uBlock Origin, and then it would be, I believe, Bitwarden.
Yeah, it
would
looks
be
like
number
Bitwarden.
3. And I'm going to add another one to that because definitely Bitwarden is something that I can't live without, and I'm going to add Dark Reader too because if I didn't have Dark Reader now, my face would be so white, it wouldn't even be funny. So there you go. Well, we are out of time, and that was a great discussion about add-ons. We will continue our add-on list next week. I think coming up next, we're going to talk about games. So if you're interested in that, you can join us next week. But Dan, last word.
Oh, thanks as always, Rocco. It's been a good discussion. I actually think I learned a couple new browser extensions, so that's good. Check out Linux User Space. We released a new episode Monday, and it was a good interview that we had on there. So go check that out. LinuxUserspace.show.
You the man. Harris, last word.
So with the whole talk about container tabs, I should probably mention that I use multiple profiles of Firefox at the same time, different themes, different settings, different extensions all running at the same time. And thank you very much for the stream, and see you next week.
Well, I think we are going to bring up next week the add-ons just to kind of put it all together, because there was also a question about whether password managers should even be on there. Should they be in their own separate area? I think they should be in their own separate area, but I think they still should be on the so we're going to have to talk about that more a little bit
They should
next
be
week.
consolidated into one unified thing that is a password manager.
But this is everybody's last word, so we're not going to talk about it right now, and we're just going to save that for next week. Big Pot, go ahead. Big Pot, did you fall asleep? I think he fell asleep. Tony?
I don't blame him.
Last word.
Yeah, great show. Good conversation. I learned a few browser extensions that might be worth investigating. Hope everybody stays safe and take care till next week. And I look forward to seeing you all then.
Time Traveler, Vince.
Rocco and behind the scenes team. I just want to say, don't ever underestimate how much you guys do for the community and how much we all appreciate it. Very much so. Can I give a couple of shout outs? I've been really enjoying DJ's Ware's little series of videos he's been making on system internals. They are fantastic. And the way he explains things, I mean, I have no idea. I'm not a computer scientist, but I can just make out what he means by all that. And I think that's great. And lastly, Steve's very own, I'll see you in the morning.
Got the coffee clutch. Another Time Traveler, Colin.
Yes, thanks Rock and Co for the platform. Great discussions tonight. I've written down some extensions. Maybe I'll give them a try. Never know. Sounds like this Dark Reader is a good one, except avoid Linux Mint website, apparently. So great discussion. Everyone have a great week and enjoy your week, and see you next week.
Jinda, last word.
Thank you, Rocco. Thank you, Dan, and everyone else. I'll see you guys next week.
Barbara?
I want to thank everybody, and especially Rocco and Dan, for another great show, and see you all next week.
All right, I'm putting in a link for DJ's channel and Steve's channel for you guys to go check it out. Thomas,
Thank you.
last word.
Well, thank you for allowing me back on again this week, and thank you for allowing me to rant about my code. I know not everybody here codes, but I feel like this is the one place where I'm able to interact with a lot of coders all at once, and makes me feel like I'm not the only one in the world sometimes. I tried container tabs once. I didn't like them for one reason. I can't open a container and have the tabs that I have isolated into that container all open by default. So I can't have, like, for instance, a GitHub container where I have like common tabs I use in GitHub all open in a single container immediately as soon as I select a container. But that's okay. You know, not everything's perfect. Maybe they'll add the feature in the future. See you guys next week.
Donald, last word.
Thomas, I loved your little rant about your coding and all that. It gives me an insight into coding I never see. And you did a great job of giving me an overview of what you were doing without getting too technical. I just love being here. You guys have a great community, and thank you for having me on, Rocco. I just really appreciate it. Everybody have a great week and take care.
Joe, last word.
Thanks, Rocco and Dan. I appreciate everything you guys do. You know, the beauty of these discussions and the direction you've taken the show, Rocco, I think is fabulous. You know, because the distro challenges are still important, but I do think that after a while, things can, I don't want to say get monotonous or stale, but you can only go so far with some things.
They can get monotonous and stale, Joe.
Yeah, there you go. So anyway, but no, the thing that's nice about this is when you have discussions, whether they're good, healthy discussions, sometimes they go directions you don't want. The beauty of it is even old guys like us can be taught new tricks or new things. You know, I'd like to think we all bring something to the table. And yes, as an older person, you think you've got life's experiences. But this realm, this new technology that's coming out, we're all evolving and learning. And I think these discussions where they really come into place and make it super valuable is because everybody has their own individual experiences. And some of them, like an example was the Web of Trust. You know, was it time back? Was it still now? Now, you know, I'm going to look at it. And it's kind of like what I mentioned earlier. It's no matter what you tend to use, we always find a reason why maybe we shouldn't be using it too. But you still come down to what the tool is best for you. And thank you so much for all of this. This is just fabulous. I mean, it's just one more thing that adds such, it's priceless. So thank you. And I'll see you next week.
Steven, last word.
Thanks, Rocco. Thanks, guys. Another great discussion. And yeah, Joe, you kind of took the words right out of my mouth. I mean, this new format and these discussions are, I think they're more engaging. They're more, there's more meaningful dialogue. And it just seems like that, I mean, yeah, I mean, there's a lot more learning opportunities, and it's good. So thanks, guys. See you next week.
Jason, last word.
Well, I just want to say again, I'm going to ditto what Vince had said about, you know, how appreciated, you know, how much you guys are appreciated in the community for everything you do. Everybody that participates in the community, as far as, you know, putting up videos like DJ Ware, Leo, Steve's very own, Shickle, all you guys that, you know, contribute to the community to where we can actually benefit and learn from the videos that you guys put out and articles, Shickle, and everybody else that writes articles. It's definitely greatly appreciated for all of us in the community, and we definitely thank you. And Little Bandit says good night.
Joshua, last word.
I didn't talk much, but it was always nice to be here. And when I feel like talking about something Linux and I just want to share my ideas, even if a bunch of people won't care or will think that I'm relatively dumb of what I'm doing, Thomas, it's always great to be here. So thanks everyone for coming.
Shickle?
Hi there. Thanks so much for having me. It was fun to be on. I seem to know what I'm saying this week, which is always a
plus.
great experience. Yeah. I just wanted to say, I mean, a little self-promotion here, but I'm going to probably be writing more stuff for Front Page Linux in the near future. So keep an eye out on that. I've got plenty of things to really just poke at people. It's going to be great.
Well, that's what the last word's for. So where can we find that Front Page Linux at, Shickle?
That's at frontpagelinux.com, I think. Is it .com? I don't actually know.
Let's hope it's .com.
Yeah, I just have a bookmark for it, so.
All right, Dave, last word.
Thank you, Rocco, Dan, Shickle, and all those behind the scenes. And hopefully I can make it again next week. Thank you.
Computer Kid.
Thank you all. I don't know. It's very relaxing just to listen to you guys rant about Linuxy things for hours. It's great.
Leo.
Gotta find the unmute key. Yeah, it's
Right?
there somewhere. Well, thanks, Jason, for that little shout out. I appreciate that. And thanks, Rocco, Dan, and Shickle for running this whole thing for us every single time. I will say, I did install Falcon, the browser, just to give it a go. It's nice. It's fast. I do appreciate that, but I can't log into Google stuff. Google gets mad at me. So I'll keep working on it. But thank you for the suggestion on Falcon. And see you guys as soon as I can see you.
All right. You didn't mention Linux user space, dude. You had your opportunity, but you didn't mention it.
You said it earlier. I didn't want to just throw it down, but I mean, linuxuserspace.show. I mean, if you haven't gone, you should totally go. If you haven't followed us on Twitter, you should totally do that too. If you haven't subscribed to us on YouTube, you should do that too.
I love you, man. Adam, last word, brother.
I'd like to thank everyone who's not a host, because as soon as they realize that they can't do anything out without the rest of us, they're done. Just remember that.
You're right.
JJ, last word.
Thanks, Rocco and Rocco's crew, for everything that you're doing during the stream, and hope you guys have a good weekend.
All right. Thank you, Dan and Shickle, for helping me out. I appreciate it. Couldn't do it without you. I have 2 Linux Spotlight episodes recorded. Still haven't gotten one edited yet completely. So they are coming. They're just behind, just like everything else right now. But again, Mike from Linux Labs will be the next episode once I get that edited. So I talked to Connor before, I talked to Shane, and Mike would be the third driver behind Linux Labs podcast. And it was a very long discussion, which is also the reason why it's taken so long to edit. But that will be out as soon as I can get it out. We will continue our app list next week, and we'll continue rounding out the add-ons. But until then, long live Linux.
Night.
Night, everybody.
Don't forget the post show.
Bye.
Bye.